you've got a myth for us to test, we'd love to hear about it.
Here off the icy waters of San Francisco Bay, we have a very rare opportunity to be able to view a very elusive television host in its natural habitat, the Heinemann. Latin name, Hoosierus televisualis. And he seems to be communicating with his viewers, asking them for ideas.
And who knew? Not only did you respond to the call, you opened the floodgates and sent us a gazillion myths.
So we selected a few of the best to test.
What's up first?
Bamboo torture. You had enough yet? Because I can keep singing all day long.
I can take whatever you can throw at me.
All right then, well, how about that, wise guy?
A tiny bamboo plant? What are you gonna do to me with that?
I'm gonna plant it and then grow it right through you.
Really? Does that work?
I don't know, but that's the myth, and I've always wanted to try it.
It's a far-fetched fable straight from the fan site. During World War II, captured POWs were supposedly stretched above and then penetrated by fast-growing bamboo shoots.
So what's your plan for this one?
It's pretty straightforward, I think. We get some kind of a human analog, we get some fast-growing bamboo, and we plant the bamboo under the analog and see if it grows through it.
Right, now normally I'd say we should use pig, but given the fact that this is gonna take a few days, it's gonna get way too smelly.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we measure how much force it takes to penetrate pig flesh, and then we create a synthetic simulant that won't rot.
And then put the bamboo underneath that.
Exactly.
And so crouching savage, hidden Heinemann begin their long and arduous search for the legendary torture technique in the mystical bamboo groves of Santa Cruz.
Luckily enough, we live in California where bamboo grows beautifully.
And the purveyor of these potentially penetrating plants
That's the thing right there. That'll get you talking.
is Larry Gullman.
Is a bamboo shoot physically capable of pushing its way through human flesh?
Bamboo shoots in the ground have to push through the dirt, around rocks, through rotten logs. I've seen bamboo shoots push up walkway pavers. So yes, they do push very hard when they're in the ground.
If you're strapped down to this, oh, I can already feel it.
So the early signs are promising.
See, that's what we want.
And that's due to the unusual way in which bamboo grows. The canes shoot out from an underground root system, and while underground, the shoot tips are extremely tough and sharp in order to push out through the soil. So the question is, do they have enough force to push through a human body?
So let's say somebody owed you money. What kind of bamboo would you use?
I think you should use Spectabilis. It's shooting right now. It's about 1 inch in diameter and very sharp.
Perfect. With their potentially penetrating plants purchased, there's only one thing left to do.
Well, we've got our bamboo. It's time to go back to the shop and torture some dummies.
And now Carrie, Grant, and Tori take the mystery out of chemistry.
Okay, so what's our next myth for the viewer special?
We're doing a myth about metal, and not just any metal, but my second favorite metal, alkali metal.
You know what? Adam and I did some tests for that when we were doing the MacGyver episode, but why are we doing it again?
Because fans want to see more. They can't get enough.
3, 2, 1.
When the team took on MacGyver, they busted the myth that a few grams of sodium in water can blast a hole in a wall.
That was an explosion, but this is not a high explosive.
But you, yes you, want more.
So what exactly do the fans want to see?
They want to see more reactive metals.
Oh, you mean like rubidium and cesium?
Exactly. There's this internet video floating around where these guys throw cesium rubidium into a bathtub, and they liken the explosion to a hand grenade. Fans want to know if that's actually true.
Okay, that's cool. But instead of bathtubs, why don't we do toilets? You know, like we used to flush the cherry bombs down in high school.
You know, I wouldn't know anything about that. I was too busy studying chemistry, but, you know, if you want to do that, by all means, let's do it.
Is this opposite land?
Hand grenades and explosions, you say? Well, that could only mean a trip to the team's dream location, the Alameda County Sheriff's Bomb Disposal Range.
What are we blowing up today? Toilets, bathtubs.
Everything but the kitchen sink.
And the reason the bathroom furniture is on death row is the fan furor over a video clip that looks a little bit like this.
Anybody got anything to read?
Break out the popcorn, because Carrie, Grant, and Tori catch a movie.
Oh, so we're doing another movie myth? Which one is it?
The cult classic, Deep Blue Sea.
Yes! Genetically altered man-eating sharks! Tell me we're testing the scene when they blow the shark up.
We're testing the scene where they blow the shark up.
Yes!
But there's a twist. They don't have any weapons on hand, so they MacGyver it. Check this out.
Yep, in this scene from the silver screen, the survivors of some mutant shark mayhem are desperate to finish the fish. So they turn to a harpoon gun, flares, and an electric charge.
We ought to get about 2.5 sticks of dynamite out of these flares.
The question is, could this MacGyver-style combo really equal a big boom?
From up here, you ought to be able to see me spirit. When I do, you take this end of this cable, hook it up to the positive side of the boat battery, and boom.
So they have 2.5 sticks of dynamite's worth of black powder from the flares, and it looks like he's gonna make a pipe bomb from the cylinder attached to the harpoon.
But how are they gonna ignite the black powder?
It looks like he's gonna just attach that metal cable to a battery, and that's supposed to set it off.
No way.
Because that's exactly what happens after upping the jeopardy by pinning his friend to the shark.
Now what's he gonna do? I mean, if he kills the shark, he could potentially kill his friend. But if he doesn't kill the shark can get away. Now he's in a dilemma. Kill the shark, kill the friend, let the shark get away. What's he gonna do?
He opts for the heroic sacrifice, of course. But our harpoon-toting hero hesitates, perhaps fatally, because the genetically enhanced super shark makes for the hole in the fence he'd prepared earlier.
Oh, wait, the hero's free.
There's a spark.
And...
Wait a minute, 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
Tower of water, blood, and fire. Awesome.
That is a pretty crazy scene, and there's a lot of elements to test.
Okay, let's break it down. First of all, we need to find out if you can ignite black powder with a car battery like they did in the movie.
And we need to see if an improvised harpoon gun like that can go that distance and still be accurate.
And then we need to find out more about these flares. Do they even contain black powder? And if so, do they have enough to make the mythical 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
And can that amount of black powder make the massive explosion that we saw?
And the guy survived.
Well, we definitely need to test that.
Okay, that's 5 things to test for one scene. That's gotta be a record.
It's the Deep Blue Sea Quintet of Myths with 5 separate testable elements. It's something to get your teeth into. But hold the phone, because Tori's starting this myth by making a mark of a shark.
I start off with a big block of foam. I put an outline on the profile and then a top view, mark that out with spray paint, cut that out with hot wires. From there, I went and took the foam cutting machine and shaped it down to more shark-like.
Nicknamed Hugo because he's, huge, he's a little cuddlier than his movie counterpart. And talking of the movie...
Now, while Tori finishes up Hugo, Grant and I are going to start testing the first part of this myth, which is the ignition system. Can you ignite black powder with a battery and a wire? We're going to start with a proof of concept.
And to explain the concept and method for proving it, here's our resident electrical engineer.
Okay, so this is a setup for our proof of concept. Now, people would normally think that it's the spark from the battery that ignites the black powder, but in their setup, it's actually more likely to be the heat. So, what I'm gonna do is hook up this battery to a pair of jumper cables. There's a thin wire between the two, and the heat should build up as the current flows through that conductor, and that should ignite the black powder.
Sounds simple enough.
You just touch the positive and that should ignite, right?
That's right. Everybody ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Yep, as expected, the heat emitted by the current being forced through the wire is enough to ignite the black powder.
That's proof of concept.
Yeah, for this part. But now what we gotta do is set it up like they had it in the movie.
Well, as we expected, we generated enough heat to ignite the black powder. But the question is, will the setup in the movie do the same?
That's the burning question. And some jump cuts later, they're all set to put the movie scene to the test.
Okay, so here's the setup. We have a tank filled with salt water. Inside of the tank is an airtight metal canister. Inside of that is black powder. Now that's connected, just like in the movie, through a steel cable. Steel cable leads back to a 12-volt marine battery. Then the other half of the circuit, by a jumper cable, leads all the way back to the tank, and hopefully completing the circuit, and ba-boom.
This experiment is one of those things that is totally counterintuitive because, you know, it's just a couple of phone books interleaved together. There's no glue, there's no tape, there's no screws. They're just sitting there, those phone book pages, and we should be able to pull them apart quite easily, but somehow I don't think so.
If you don't believe Jamie, here's a sentence you don't often hear on MythBusters. This is one you can try at home. And while you're at it, here's something else you can try at home with phone books. The tall tale that it takes a strong man to tear a phone book in half.
As long as we've got all these phone books around, I thought this is an opportunity to learn how to rip a phone book.
And Adam's tricky technique is this. Bend the book into a V, separating the pages. And that means you tear one page at a time and not all 800. Simple.
This is like a sickness. It's like an addiction. I gotta rip up another one. Oh, yeah.
But the problem with addictive highs are the inevitable subsequent lows.
I know I'm a MythBuster, but I'm a little sad to find out that the trick is so easy.
And Adam knows the only way to cheer himself up is to beat, or could that be cheat, Jamie in a contest.
Jamie, come here. Got a challenge for you. Ready?
Okay.
Can you do that?
I don't know. Let's see. I've never done this before.
After seeing Jamie struggle for a few minutes, Adam adds the ultimate insult by offering to help.
All right, here, I'll make it easy for you.
Okay.
Start from the other side. Take it, bend it all the way like this, and you're kind of spreading out all the pages and tearing them one at a time. That's the trick, and it should tear open. Come on, you're stronger than me. What, you gonna let me show you up on television?
You want to get whacked in the head with a phone book?
It's a fun trick to know. I think we should practice.
You go right ahead.
Okay.
After a trip to the recycling bin, boys, it's back to work. Which means it's time to dial in on some hard data.
We weren't able to pull the phone books apart. That tells us something, but not specifically how strong they are. So we're going to test them with this scale.
Yep, this scale will measure exactly how much tug
I'm ready when you are.
the phone books are being subjected to.
All right, what do we get to?
Not bad.
320 pounds.
320 pounds sounds significant, but what we need is a little perspective.
To put that amount of force in perspective, it's the weight of your average linebacker.
Impressive. But what's next?
Let's get everyone in the building on this.
Okay.
Yep, it's time to number up.
You ready to fight the Spartans?
With 9 muscled MythBusters and Adam split into 2 teams of 5,
1, 2, 3, like that.
we're about to see exactly what these phone books are made of.
Lunge! Lunge! Come on, they're beating us, you bastards! Move!
Okay.
So far, it's phone books 1, everybody else 0. 5 people on 5 people tug of war, generating almost 2,100 pounds of force, the weight of a small car, and the phone books are steadfastly refusing to be separated.
Which leaves one final manpower option. All 10 MythBusters in one mighty team. Mush.
Lunge! Lunge! Tug!
All right, what do we get? We got up to 4,000 pounds. You guys called it up. You called up the beast. And it didn't do anything.
Come on, guys, do I have to keep asking? 4,000 pounds is...
About the weight of a full-size pickup truck. And still we weren't able to separate the phone books.
We gave everything to this phone book. It looked right back at our face and said, "Tuh, is that all you've got? We will need to bring some more power."
But before the bringing of more power,
What's up, man?
in an attempt to unstick this sticky problem,
I have something fun for you guys to try.
Adam brings more MythBusters.
The goal is for you guys to separate these without ripping them, tearing them, just by pulling. You've got 1/2 hour and any tool or material you want to use in the shop.
This is gonna be easy. 1, 2, 3.
Ow! I need a broken nail.
Maybe not easy, but it is intriguing.
What are you doing? Is it time for, like, fire safety tips or something?
In fact, it is. Today's fire safety tip is don't stand near a car that's on fire.
Okay. Why?
All right, I'm glad you asked. Because it turns out that some cars have a bumper attached to them by a shock absorber. And this is to, allow the bumper to absorb some of the hit when it bumps into something. And that in a car fire, that shock absorber can overheat and explode and send the bumper shooting out, potentially kneecapping anybody who's unfortunate enough to be standing in front of or behind the car on fire.
I sense a car fire in our near future.
I think it's definitely something we should test.
Okay.
Bumpers are designed to protect your car by absorbing some of the impact from a low-speed collision. But if your car's on fire, this myth contends that the gas-filled pistons can heat up to a point where the bumper becomes a deadly projectile, and its range is an incredible 50 feet.
As far as the methodology goes, I think it's pretty straightforward. We just go to a junkyard, we get some bumpers of the appropriate type, we subject them to some really high heat, and we test them.
Right, but since this whole thing is about what happens to these bumpers in a car fire, I think our very first step is to simply set a car on fire and take some measurements and readings to figure out what kind of temperatures we're actually talking about.
Agreed.
So the boys bowled up to the bomb range to set a car on fire. This is familiar MythBusters territory. So how hard can it be? Well, as hard as you want to make it.
We're all right.
What the hell are you doing?
Having some fun.
Jamie's idea of fun is likely different to yours, mine, and Adam's.
Remember, kids, you really can get in trouble with one of these things.
It's an apt start to a day that will not go quite to plan.
We have found some potential cases of this actually happening, that maybe bumpers shot off during car fires. And the researchers have found us a make and model similar to those in the reports that we have. So we're going to set this thing on fire, find out how hot a car fire actually gets, take temperature readings all around it, and if we're very lucky, maybe we'll get a bumper shooting off.
That would be a bonus. But remember, their primary purpose is to see just how hot a car fire gets. Fortunately, there's some adult supervision on hand.
Good morning. We got just a small car fire we're going to set and hopefully help ask you guys to put out.
No problem, sir.
Adam draws on boyhood skills to raise the car and strip the wheels in next to no time. Here in California, it's a crime to burn tires. For some reason, it's not a crime to wear a silver suit with suspenders. As Adam slips into something less comfortable, Jamie considers the finer details.
We're gonna light the car on fire, and being as the engine has fuel, it has oil, it has plastic parts, it's got batteries with electricity, you've got all the elements you need to create an energetic fire. And that also happens to be the area around the bumper. So that's where we're going to focus our ignition, and we'll see what happens.
And just for good measure, when the car's ablaze, they'll get accurate temperature measurements by circling it with a thermal imaging camera.
That ought to do. What do you think?
Go for it.
This is fun.
But try as he might, Adam can't manage to set fire to the engine, even though it's swimming in gasoline. Making fire is something even cavemen mastered. But we've struggled with this before. Who could forget the shaky start to trailblazers?
It's hard stuff to light.
It only lights when it gets mystified.
This delayed ignition is risky business, and statistically, it's getting more perilous by the second. I mean, nothing's gone wrong for almost 40 minutes.
Whoa! I'm okay.
You got a little bit of a haircut there, didn't you?
I got a little bit of a, not a haircut, I got a little bit of a hair on the back of my hand.
So I see swim goggles, I see a swim cap, and I see syrup. I'm sensing a really big mess in our future, am I right?
Oh, you are correct. This is a classic physics thought experiment. Simply stated, it is thus, that you can swim as fast in syrup as you can in regular old water.
Well, the syrup is thicker, so I would think that it would slow down your movement through it.
That might be true, but it also might be true that the thicker syrup gives you more to push against with your hands.
So what this boils down to then is whether those two forces cancel each other out, right?
That's what we got to get down and dirty and test.
On the surface, you'd think that swimming in syrup could only end with drowning in syrup. But maybe not. The thick resistance that slows you down might also mean you've got more to push against, increasing your propulsion. Like Adam says, it's a classic physics dilemma. And we'll be testing it with real swimmers.
Sweet.
You know, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say we need to get a pool, a bunch of syrup, and start testing.
You're right, but with two notable exceptions. One, we're not going to use real maple syrup. We're going to use guar gum, which should allow us to get exactly the viscosity we want. Two, we couldn't find a pool that would allow us to fill it with syrup. We're going to have to make our own. In fact, I propose we make two pools. One filled with water, one filled with heavy syrup, swim in each, and compare our times. It's that simple.
Well, let's dive right in.
Okay. Well, this may look like just a clearing in the hills of Dublin, Pleasanton, California, but by the time we're done with it, by the end of the day, when we're through digging a pair of 75-foot-long pools with these puppies, this will be an experimental space on the leading edge of fluid dynamics, swimming in goo.
Before they tackle the swimming or the science, the boys need to show their blue-collar credentials. And what do you know? It's poetry in motion. The plan is to fill one trench with plain water, purchased from the city, and the other with water thickened with guar gum. Both of these rustic lap pools need to be 75 feet long.
Amazing what you can do with the right tools. That took us about an hour and a half, but now we've got at least a couple hours or more straightening them out, making them into proper pools.
We are now about to line these in heavy plastic and fill them with water. And we're using 4 layers of heavy plastic, hopefully to keep any leaks from happening. We've tried to eliminate as many sharp objects on the bottom.
Perfect.
Wow, it's freaking dark in here.
Okay, everybody just stay put. Make sure you hang on to your edges. We're ready for water.
An Alameda County fire truck pumps the water. And the plastic lining, bolstered by some hefty plywood decking, seems to be holding.
It's turned out to be a heck of a pool.
Dude, this thing looks awesome.
Dig a hole, you got some plastic, you got a pool, huh?
Well, if the other trench is ready, let's make some goo and fill it.
Okay.
It's time to get sticky for science.
So today, we're testing 2 magic bullet myths, which are myths about bullets doing something that they're not designed to do. And the first one comes from the second best television show of all time.
MacGyver?
You got it.
I like this one already.
Now, I know this is all just special effects, but I'm really interested to see if this is gonna work in real life.
So what is it?
All right, MacGyver is on a cargo ship. He's trying to rescue a boy who's locked behind a steel door. He empties out 6 bullets and ignites the gunpowder using an empty cartridge, and then blows the lock open.
I wouldn't have thought of that one.
Mac's method is to pack the powder from 6 bullets inside a shred of cloth. He stuffs that in the lock, shoves in an empty cartridge, and smacks the firing cap with the butt of his gun.
Hang on. I thought MacGyver had an extreme aversion to guns.
True, he took a .38 from a guard he just KO'd, but let's not forget, there's a child's life at stake here.
Sorry, forgot that.
But still, it's a loaded gun. I mean, why wouldn't you just point it at the lock and shoot it out?
Well, he thought it would ricochet straight back off a steel door.
So what do you guys think?
I say, let's give it a try.
Let's do it.